Right, we're getting on to my favourite sections. They're not my favourite sections at all. Right, section AS3533.4.1, section 13. This is called Information to be provided by the manufacturer and supplier. Manufacturer is people who made it, obviously. Supplier is me, because I am supplying it to you. All the information must be printed legibly. Illustrations wherever possible. We need minimum details of installation, operation, inspection, and maintenance in particular. You need to specify the height, clearances, etc., which we do on their websites or something along those lines. That's fine. Any restrictions, which we might do, operating surfaces, not going to operate on gravel and coarse grit and stuff like that. And height and weight restrictions. These are usually written on the bounce castles. I should think almost all of them are. Most of them for weight, not necessarily for height. They should have the intended number of patrons with their height and weight, of course. Should have the overall packed dimensions and weight. Not quite sure why the packed dimensions should be that important to anybody else. And the pack dimensions are irrelevant anyway, because when it arrives from China, all packed up in the tightest bag ever, it's never going back in that bag. It's just, we never get it that tight ever again. They vacuum pack it and have whatever to do it really tight. We'll never get it that tight ever again. It should come supplied with the requirements for air supply and pressure, which will basically just be use a 1.5 horsepower blower or whatever it's going to be. And it should say the type and extent and placement of padding around it. I don't think they ever do. I've never seen that written down. And in that little section, the last bit says that there must be a report of the device's status with respect to conformity of this standard. And that should be provided. So, to conform to this standard, you must have a certificate or report or something stating that it conforms to this standard. If you don't have that, then it doesn't. Now, one of the things that came out of the report of the Tasmania tragedy was that the supplier misled the operator as to the inflatables' compliance with AS3533.4.1. We all know that if you ask certain suppliers, not all, certain suppliers, to write whatever you want on the side of that bounce castle, they will. They will write compliant to AS3533.4.1. May not be, but they'll write it because you've asked them to and it makes the sale. Now, they'll do that with the certificate, regardless of whether it does or not. I'm not sure that it's worth that much in terms of just having a piece of paper or certificate or even having it written on the side of the bounce castle. That would be something I do not think is actually a solid guarantee that something is compliant. Now we get to 13.2. Minimum requirements for installation and maintenance and operating manuals. The supplier or manufacturer, so from here, I've bought the castle, so I am now the supplier. I shall provide the following installation information. This is a minimum. List of equipment. If you hire a bounce castle from me, I'm going to come and install it. Put it up, pack it down, take it away. Who am I supplying the list of equipment to and why? I could understand if you were taking it away to use, but that doesn't happen. But it says here that it should be supplied anyway. Method of anchorage, number of anchor points and test method. Method of anchorage, yep. Number of anchor points, well, that would depend on the wind, but wouldn't you just say put all of them in, something like that? And test method. How to test your peg. That happens a lot, I bet. The maximum safe wind speed in and out of service, basically when it's deflated. The maximum safe wind speed, that should be set to everybody. But how are they going to measure it? And before you say, oh, you just supply them with an anemometer, which is easy for you to say, a wind meter, doesn't really... They don't do what you think they do, or they don't do it. They don't supply you with the guarantee that you think they might. We have to supply people with the space required, height and all the rest. I do on the website, but if you book a castle from me, I don't supply that information because I set it up. Maximum allowable slope of the site. I've got no idea. I've never measured it. I have no idea what the maximum allowable slope of a site might be. We don't set up on steep slopes, and especially if a slide, imagine if it was going backwards, the slide would almost be horizontal, wouldn't it? We don't set up on slopes. We try and get as minimum as possible. It's possibly a bit less important here because we live in Canterbury and it's pretty flat for the most part. But I wouldn't have no idea what the maximum slope we can set up on is. And I have no idea how to measure what the maximum slope is and why it is the maximum slope. Crowd control measures. Again, not important for backyard bounce castles, but would be important for public events. I wouldn't supply that information, except I would supply people to supervise it, or I suppose I might actually, if somebody else is supervising it, I usually leave a supervisor to supervise the supervisors. Yeah, that's why I'm a poor man and don't make any money. The air performance requirement of the blower. Yeah, we all supply the air performance requirement of the blower. We just put the blower on. We don't tell you how much. No, you just supply the blower. That's all you do. An RCD needs to be used. Yep, that's all good. Lighting requirements. Yep, we all supply lighting requirements. The supplier shall provide information on the inspection and maintenance of equipment, covering a minimum of sections 15 and 16, which we shall come to. So I'll leave that for that. So to conform, we must supply at a minimum, at a very minimum, but not limited to staffing, the minimum number of staff and people that must be there. That's fine. We would do that. Where to put staff and how to control things in a safe manner. Yep. Keeping the entrance free, etc., etc. Be all good. And the use of a whistle or other loud signal to attract attention of patrons. I've got 2 whistles. Never used them. Bought them because we read AS 3533.4.1, but I don't think we're ever going to do it. Just talk to the kids. I don't know, but it says we must have a whistle or other loud. I'll just read it again. Where to look at? Yep, it's a minimum requirement. They must have a whistle or other loud signal to attract the attention of patrons. I don't know if you're allowed to just say shout. I don't know. You must tell supervisors, staff, maximum number of people, etc. Any environmental conditions that might affect things. And that would be, if it's raining, mats become very slippy, so you might need to take them away or do something with them, or certain bounce castles just become unusable if they're too wet, or if they're just wet at all. Too slippy, people sliding this, doing this and the other, so we just go, nah, just bring it down. Dress code, suitable attire. I love that phrase. So talking about what they're wearing, people with hard objects or bizarre hats or whatever. And in reality, that's, the little girls with princess tiaras on or something like that, or somebody's carrying a boy carrying a sword of some description or whatever, or this and the other, and you need to go, no, you can't take those on with you. Staff need to be aware of separating. It's usually older boys, younger girls, away from each other. And, you just say, right, boys, just wait a minute. We'll put you on all together. The young ones are on. You don't want to be on with the young ones. You just wait here, and you'll all go on together. And they like that because that's what they want to do and throw themselves around. They don't want to be messing with the little children, and vice versa. And then they come off, and the little ones go on, and they're usually okay with that. Things. Obviously, no food or drink, shoes off, that sort of thing. Or, if it's an interactive, then people have got to put the jackets on properly, say for the bungee or something like that, or how to use the battens properly for Gladiator or something along those lines. So it's basically how to run the things. They need to know what to do in the event of an emergency. An emergency being basically the blower going off or something else has happened. There could be refueling if it was a petrol one, but we haven't had petrol blowers for a long, long time.